Hello there, today I'm gonna do this. This is a very classic fly, one of the most classic patterns ever made. This is the red tag, and I'm gonna do this with a gold head, and I'm gonna do it in a Palmer variation. Also, I'm gonna change the original material, which is peacock feathers, to a dubbing that is easier. So basically, this is probably one of the most used wet flies of all times. I'm gonna tie this on the new Arex hook. The FV 580, a nice wet fly hook in a size 6, because, well, basically that's very good size for a lot of different things. So these Arex hooks comes in two different varieties. You can get them with or without the barb, but since I'm going to use this for some trout in Denmark on the Danish coastline, which are numerous and abundant, I can have the barb because I like to eat a trout every now and then. So basically, you start up with your black standard tying thread, and you move all the way down to the hook bend, preferably on this hook about where the hook barb is, but about the bend. Then I'm gonna take some wool yarn. And this uni stuff is quite thin, so I've taken a bit longer piece, and then simply I'm gonna take my dubbing needle and I'm gonna tear these out so they're not in strands, but I'm gonna brush them out so they are gonna be kind of like a wing kind of thing. You see, like this, and these will be my tail. It's as I said, a fairly easy fly, and at least in Denmark, this is probably the most used fly for being the first fly ever to tie. So it's a very nice beginner's fly, but that doesn't mean that this pattern is not potent and deadly, because it really is an awesome fly. I'm just gonna wrap the thread a bit around the wool yarn here to give the body a bit more bulk. So basically up until around there. And then I'm gonna cut off this. So it's not gonna be completely up to the gold head, but almost, as you can see there. Basically to give the body a bit more bulk. Well, like that. Then I'm gonna take a feather. And for this you want a nice natural brown rooster feather. The rooster feathers are for the wet flies are the best option for Palmer hackles. I'm gonna take one that, and you can check the hackles. This looks fairly good for this size. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tie this in the tip of the feather. So I have the shortest of these hackle fibers will be towards the tail, and then it will gradually taper and become longer as I progress up the hook shank, like this. And I have this where I want it. I'm gonna cut that off. And then I'm gonna make a dubbing loop, and I do this by taking the thread and then doubling it. So I have the thread around my finger now, and I'm gonna double it, and then I'm gonna tie it down again on top of itself. And now I have a pretty open loop here, as you can see. So I'm gonna take the thread and turn it one way all the way around my dubbing loop, and this will close the dubbing loop. And I can hang this off to the side, and I'm gonna take my thread all the way up here to my gold head, like so. Then I'm gonna take some ice dubbing in the peacock color, really cool color, and it looks very much like the real peacock feathers, except that this is a bit more shiny, and it's not easier to work with. Well, I guess it is a bit, but this is more. This will stand out more and give the fly a more shaggy look, which is something I like for this fly. So I'm gonna take a bit more dubbing, and if you're new to fly tying, then the amount of dubbing that you use should be less than what you think it should be. If you haven't tied that many flies, I would say about half of what you think would be the correct amount is the correct amount. So what you take out of the bag, half that, and then you're probably golden. Then I attach my dubbing reel here. Spin it. Not spinach. And then you have something that is a bit of a problem. Because my dubbing loop simply broke. I'm gonna save that real quickly by holding on to the thread and then turning this dubbing loop with my fingers. And you can see how you can save this now. And then I'm gonna take my hackle plier and I'm gonna attach that to the bottom end of this dubbing loop here. Like so. And as you can see, I saved my dubbing loop. So this is something you probably will experience, well, not very frequently, but it happens. And you can save that by doing what I just did. So like that, and then I'm gonna turn this. I'm not gonna turn it so it's completely on top of itself. I have a bit of room between each turn because otherwise my body here would be too dense. And not be correct, like so. And this was, well, basically the ideal amount of dubbing I used for this. You could call it luck or experience, I don't know. Then I tie down the dubbing by holding the end of the dubbing loop out in front and then just applying some thread, 5 or 6 turns, something like that. Cut off the bit that is left over here, like so. And then I'm gonna turn my hackle. And ideally you want about 4 or 5 turns of your hackle as you go up here. And of course the spacing between the turns of the hackle should be fairly uniform in length. This will give the right proportions of the fly. And then in the front of the fly here, I'm gonna tie it 1 or 2 or 3 times to give it a bit more bulk and a bit more hackle at the end of this fly. And then I'm gonna tie down the hackle feather exactly like before, simply by holding this a bit forward and then turning your thread in between the hackle and the gold head so that the end of the feather is firmly secured. Like that. Then I'm gonna do a whip finish, or whatever else of knots you prefer to use. If you do not know how to use a whip finish and you have the tool, I've made a specific video just about how to do that. So simply just search in YouTube for whip finish tool, how to use, or something like that. You will find probably a ton of videos that demonstrates that. And then a bit of varnish here. And then I take my dubbing brush and simply just mangle this fly a bit, so I get a bit more dubbing coming out here, and I can get the hackle to be nice and pointing nicely backwards, giving the fly a shaggy, a bit sparkly look from the dubbing, with the contrast to the tail, and the hackle will add some movement. And well, basically there you have it, red tag palmer with a gold head. A great fly for reservoir fish, or for sea trout. This works awesomely as well for grayling, for brown trout, for rainbows. This is a very good fly, and tied this way you can fish it downstream, you can even fish it upstream, or you can fish it in lakes and stuff like that. So a fairly easy, good beginner's fly that should not only be used by beginners, because this pattern for some reason is simply deadly. I have a few of these always on me, I was about to say, but in my fly box. Well, thank you for watching, and good luck out there.